Hey there, thanks for tuning into DuckBricks. I'm Chris, and LEGO just sent me the brand new LEGO Fortnite sets for review. I have been so excited for these because obviously I've been loving the game, but it's taken a while to actually get physical sets out. But finally, they're here. We have a whole host of new minifigures, display sets, play sets, and we're gonna take an in-depth look right now. Okay, so here is the entire lineup of LEGO Fortnite sets coming out very soon on October 1st. We have 77070, the Durr Burger, retailing for $15 and coming with 193 pieces, 77071 Supply Llama for $40 and 691 pieces, 77072 Peely Bone for $100 and 1,414 pieces, and 77073 Battle Bus, retailing for $100 with 954 pieces and a ton of minifigures. Now, LEGO Fortnite is one of the most interesting new LEGO themes because instead of having a full-on play theme or a full-on display theme, they've kind of tried to do a mix of both. You have one set that is fully dedicated towards minifigure-based play, and I think that set makes the most sense. The Battle Bus is a recognizable icon from not just LEGO Fortnite, but from the larger Fortnite game, and because Epic Games wanted them to include the most number of minifigures in the set, all of the minifigure budget for the theme went into that one set, which is pretty remarkable given the price. $100 is not a bad price for something like that, especially with so many minifigure molds. The rest of the sets, however, are more display focused, and they do range in age range, but it's clear to LEGO that since Fortnite is a game that's largely played by teens or maybe slightly older kids, they wanted to skew more towards having these teen and adult focused sets, especially because when looking at the user base, it's not a ton of younger kids playing, which is actually something that I asked the LEGO Fortnite design team as to how they actually were able to pull all of these together during an interview I had with the entire design shop. But now, let's jump into all of the details of each and every individual set, going from the smallest to the largest. Once again, this is the Durr Burger for $15, and I actually really like the way this is built. They introduce a number of new recolors, like these kind of hemisphere elements in orange, which I'm sure are going to make excellent life raft pieces, and the building techniques are actually really clever. They have a subtle little curve to the top bun, allowing you to have the tongue be sticking out. I love the studs on the side techniques, showing that the hamburger is actually kind of sticking around the sides, and what's even better is that while designing this set, they worked in conjunction with the video game team to actually put this set in the game, so you can literally build this in-game. The only big omission to me is the inclusion of a minifigure. This is literally the way it's built in-game, so this is actually the canonical size scaled correctly to a minifigure, and I feel like it is a bit of a missed opportunity to not include one of the Durr Burger minifigures, especially because we have seen them pretty prominently in the game itself. Otherwise, for $15, this isn't that bad of a set. I actually do like a lot of the building techniques. It's a lot more clever than you might realize to actually mount things at angles. You can see they make use of the brand new 1x2 curved jumper elements to actually mount these side curved elements in orange, and I find that to be really interesting. I also love the parts usage of the tongue piece being used with this canopy element that typically we use for windscreens, but it actually works quite well for something like this. Moving on from that though, I think it's time to take a look at one of the next sets because this is just a small opening to the line. And so, let's move on over to the Supply Llama. So here is the Supply Llama, arguably the second most iconic build, second to of course the Battle Bus. The Supply Llama is, yes, an icon of LEGO Fortnite, but also just an icon of Fortnite in general. It's a large-scale version of the llama which appears throughout many different versions of the game and comes with 691 pieces for $40 US. This is a really solid build and honestly kind of reminds me of some of the more large-scale animal builds that they've done for other themes like Harry Potter's Patronus, but just built honestly a lot better. I love the building techniques being used here. Yes, it is a little repetitive with the amount of cheese slopes you have to put on, but the gradient of colors is really good, and I feel like the head is incredibly solid. It perfectly depicts the iconic Fortnite llama in brick-built form, and I was really impressed with how everything all came together. Unfortunately with that, this is not the most interesting build to actually play with when done. For $40, it absolutely is the kind of build that you really just put together once, put on a shelf, and there's not much else you can do with it. I do struggle to think of things that you could have done with the Fortnite llama, but really all you can do is open up these hatches, which you can use to store different items from the game, which I think is probably my favorite part of the model, is just being able to see so many different actual in-game items being used here, like the backpack or the health charm or the grappling gun and slurp juice or so on and so forth. But to be completely honest, besides that, this is not the most interesting model to me. In fact, out of all 4 sets, it's arguably the least interesting because yes, it is an iconic piece of LEGO Fortnite and it totally makes sense to be a $40 set. I think it's actually pretty decent value for what you actually get, but I do also think there are a lot more interesting sets, from the massive, large-scale detailed Peely Bone to the very interesting Battle Bus, and even the Durr Burger offering a nice cheap little entry into the theme. The Supply Llama kind of falls at a point where, yes, it has all these cool icons from the game and it has all this different stuff going for it, but it's just not the most interesting thing for me personally. But now let's move on to the next set. This is 77072 Peely Bone with 1,414 pieces, retailing for $100 US. One thing you might notice as we go further and further in this mega review is that the prices of the sets are actually surprisingly really good. For a license that is bound to be incredibly popular with people paying really any price to get some of these phenomenal sets, I'm genuinely kind of blown away by just how well priced many of the sets are. It really is shocking. Now, the Peely Bone is one of the strangest sets of the Fortnite wave. First of all, it is a large-scale build of a kind of random skin that arguably is not the most popular Peely skin, like it's just kind of one of the more unique looking ones, but the entire reason why this set exists is because it was basically made for one of the design leads of LEGO Fortnite, who loved the way that Peely Bone looked. The designers decided to give him a gift of Peely Bone as a large-scale sculpture, and he liked it so much they turned it into an actual set. Because of it, this kind of feels more like a mock than a set, and I have to say that even if you do not play Fortnite, even if you don't care what Fortnite is or don't really have that much interest in the skins or the builds, this is just simply a really impressive LEGO build on its own. I am genuinely kind of blown away by just how good this build is as a LEGO model. You of course have one side being the banana side, the other side being the skeletal side, but LEGO's been trying to crack this concept for years. In fact, the Anatomini LEGO Ideas project almost was made into a set like 4 different times. It even was almost made a Bricklink designer set, but they just couldn't figure out how to do it. But I guess they kind of figured out how to do it for this, where you have a full-on partial skeleton model. I love the usage of the Technic macaroni elements as the intestines there, and I also really love how you can actually see different shades of yellow being used for kind of the rotting or zombified type of banana color, where you have the cool yellow showcasing kind of some of the exposed skin, the keto orange or flame yellowish orange using the inner part of the banana itself, and then you have some wonderful pieces being used like the white sausages recolored to be used for the rib cage there, moved around the curved posing element, which is I think the first time that element has appeared in a set that isn't necessarily just for posing. The skeleton side is really well done, and definitely one of the most intricate and interesting LEGO builds I've ever seen. On contrast, the other side is pretty smooth. You have all of these smooth pieces being used for Peely on the other side. Of course, you can pose the limbs a little bit. It's not supposed to be a posable action figure. It's really just supposed to be something you can just put in one position and leave it be, but I think it works out totally well, and I do love how the pickaxe is built. Yes, it is a gigantic banana, and they've recolored the giant fern piece in yellow for the banana peels, which is another parts usage that I think is such a clever piece for this particular set. The other thing I really find is really cool about this is every single decal is printed on the model. From all the brown spots, everything's printed except for literally the banana sticker on the back of the head, which I actually got a chance to interview the designers, and they said that was a very intentional thing. They wanted the banana sticker to literally be a sticker. So yes, some would say, oh, well, they were saving money and decided not to print that one, but I actually think it's a pretty clever way to make something a sticker because it literally is supposed to be a sticker. Now, weapon-wise, Peely Bone utilizes this really cool looking blaster with some printed elements. It's kind of like a slime blaster. It's a really nicely detailed detailed Lego gun element, and obviously they didn't go for the more realistic military weapon. They went with something a little bit more fun, and I do find it interesting how that's kind of like the only gun-like weapon any of the Lego Fortnite sets have or reference, but even then, it's kind of more fantastical than it is an actual weapon. Moving on to the back of the model, love the way the curve goes on the back. He has a backpack as well with some of the new banana bushel elements there, which I think is super cool. But now let's move on to the last set of the wave, which I think is the best set of the wave, and that is 77073, the Battle Bus. Here's the crazy thing about the Battle Bus. It has 9 exclusive minifigures, many of which have new molds, many of which have alternate hair pieces which they can use, lots of recolors in the bus itself. The bus has seating for all 9 minifigures, and then some, and it retails for $100 US with 954 pieces. That is kind of insane. Genuinely, I don't know how they were able to pull this off. I literally explicitly asked this in my interview, and they said, well, they had a budget for minifigures across the entire theme, and Fortnite and Epic Games really wanted them to prioritize putting as many minifigures as possible in the bus, so they figured, why not just blow their entire theme budget on one set? And I think it really shows. It is almost shockingly good value. Now, you have all sorts of different figures, and one thing they also said they tried to include were some skins that were more meant to look like bad guys, some skins that were meant to look more like good guys, and the bad guy skins, they almost tried to make it feel like a standard Lego play theme, where they had just like these kind of similar color scheme villains that they could use to put the pieces together. And overall, it's just really well done. The minifigures are phenomenal, and they genuinely are some of the best that I have ever seen. The Trespasser Elite and the Cube Assassin, of course, are the 2 villains, but the star of the show is the Bright Bomber. The Bright Bomber has kind of been an icon of Lego Fortnite in some ways. She's like, quote-unquote, the main character. She's featured in a lot of the marketing and advertisements, and I think it makes total sense that you actually have a Bright Bomber minifigure. What's really cool is that the LEGO Fortnite sets actually include a code to unlock exclusive skins in the game, where if you do have the sets, you can even unlock special skins and get a few special perks related to the LEGO Fortnite stuff. Now, one of my favorite minifigures here is probably the Cube Assassin. I always love it when they use this like Ant-Man helmet recolored with a different piece. I feel like it could totally work for something like a Blacktron-like character, and I love classic LEGO space, so that's super cool, and it's always good to get a very interesting head print in the form of this transparent pink head with a cube print on it. Just such a unique type of thing. But again, so many of the minifigures have exclusive components to them created just for the minifigs. Cuddle Team Leader here has a very specialized kind of dual molded head, where you have the pink and the white, which is dual molded in, as well as printing for the eyes and the nose, and it's genuinely really impressive. But the head underneath is also brand new, featuring one of the slightly newer versions of LEGO skin colors, and yes, it does have a hairpiece to use for the character as well, so you can display her without the helmet, which is just kind of icing on the top of the cake, especially because early release versions of this minifigure that they were giving out at events like Comic-Con did not have any head underneath whatsoever, and they totally could have gotten away with it. Another icon for Fortnite in general is, of course, Jonesy, and for Jonesy they've chosen one of his most iconic outfits in the form of the Battalion Brawler. Honestly, for people who are not the biggest fans of Fortnite and more fans of LEGO, this is not one of the more exciting minifigures. They did make a new headpiece for him, even though it is a fairly generic headpiece. I do like the dual molded arms, and I feel like the vest is good for generic military purposes, but to be completely honest, it's just not the most exciting minifigure because it is the most standard. But speaking of non-standard, we actually have, of course, Peely here. This is a adventure Peely version of the character, and it's a really interesting model because not only did they include dual molded legs, but they also made a brand new mold for Peely. Yes, there is a banana suit outfit that they could have used if they wanted to, but they chose not to. They chose to make it fully authentic to the LEGO Fortnite experience and create a brand new mold, which one of the coolest things to me is that it's printed all the way around the side. You have the jacket being printed around the side, which is super interesting because that means they could totally do another version of Peely if they wanted to, like Peely Bone, and we're gonna get back to that later, but I do really feel they should have included at least one minifigure of what the set is depicting in the set. Another icon of Fortnite and one of the earliest skins they did is Raven here. Raven also gets a brand new molded headpiece here with the dark blue printing as well as the purple print on the scarf. The head is pretty simple. It's a new print for the head, but nothing super crazy. And my favorite part about it is that the legs are not just dual molded, but of printing on the sides of the legs as well. And speaking of side printing, even the other minifigures have them too. Meowskulls has this really nicely side printed arm which showcases the tattoo on the side of the arm there. I only wish the other arm was also printed with some orange fur because, to be honest, it's a little jarring to have one arm have so much detail on the orange fur and the actual tattoo, and the other arm is just plain white. And yes, the character model in-game does have printing on both sides of the arms, but besides that, it is really, really solid. But enough about the figures, let's take a look at the bus right now. Now, the Battle Bus is obviously a big icon of Fortnite in general. It is something that is super iconic to the games, and capturing it right was really, really important. And I'm really impressed with how they were able to pull it off here. You see, the Battle Bus is a mix between displayable and playable, much like how many of these sets are meant to be displayed by people who are collectors, who are fans of Fortnite. That's exactly how this functions. You just have the added benefit of being able to swoosh it through the air as well. I really love the details factored into the model, like the little sticker showcasing the V-Bucks logo. You have all sorts of different details on the top of the balloon, and you have the metal arms on the side that kind of go around the bus, making sure it can be suspended by the massive hot air balloon, which is using just the existing large-scale hot air balloon pieces that LEGO makes. Now, what's really cool is you can remove the top and actually place it flat down on the ground, and that's super easy to move around. Of course, there are enough seats for every single one of the characters in the set. Some of them do have to be placed in a little bit of interesting positions to actually fit. For instance, Meowskulls obviously has to have the back of the chair folded all the way down to accommodate his tail, but otherwise, it's genuinely impressive how all of them fit in while holding their accessories as well, and they really wanted to make it a priority. The bus itself for the interior is honestly kind of empty because they wanted to prioritize having minifigures in it, but I think that totally works. A lot of kids and adults are gonna want to carry their minifigures into battle on this bus, so it totally works in its regard. Moving on from that, I do think that the build itself is pretty solid. It is a really nice large-scale bus. Kind of reminds me of the LEGO Hidden Side school bus, honestly, with how large it is, but also how it does seem like it could realistically fit into a city if you remove all the extra stuff on the sides and obviously remove the stuff on the front. It really is just kind of like a standard bus, and the hot air balloon part of it is just icing on the top of the cake. For $100 though, the value of the set is truly unbeatable, and I'm kind of blown away by just how they were able to pull off a set that has such good value like this. And with that, we can move on to my overview of my thoughts on the entire wave as a whole. So here's the thing, LEGO Fortnite is off to an incredibly strong start. But for me personally, I am always partial to LEGO themes that actually have minifigure play associated with them. I want to have a LEGO set based off of the samurai castle that you can build in game, or even the standard hut, or just some of the different castle style buildings you can put together in LEGO Fortnite. As much as these models are based around LEGO Fortnite, to be honest, they aren't really. I mean, really, realistically speaking, these are kind of more generic Fortnite LEGO sets. Sure, the Durr Burger is something you can build in game, but it's also an icon of Fortnite. Same with the Supply Llama, that's just a Fortnite icon. Peely Bone is a large-scale Fortnite skin, and of course the Battle Bus started off as something that is just Fortnite. Yes, it's in the LEGO Fortnite game, but I personally would love it for LEGO to actually make legit LEGO Fortnite sets. Kind of like how they do LEGO Minecraft, where you have different sets based around different buildings, you have all sorts of different minifigures exploring, and obviously collecting the skins is a really big part of Fortnite, so I totally feel like you could have a full-on play theme. Make a ton of sets for these where you could have minifigures exploring builds. I feel like the time is right. I did ask the designers, and they did say that since Fortnite as a game has a higher age range, a lot of teens play it, they were told they had to focus the theme on more kind of adult-oriented play, and even just adult-oriented display or kind of slightly older age range sets. I really do hope they do revisit some of the older playset ideas they were tossing around. They said they literally developed concepts for full-on playsets for full LEGO Fortnite, and I think that would be super cool to be able to actually have sets like that. As it is, my favorite set is the Battle Bus because it has all the minifigures, and I do lament not including more minifigures minifigures in the other sets. Include the minifigure version of Peely Bone in the Peely Bone set if you're gonna make a new mold anyway. Include the minifigure version of Der Burger in the Der Burger set. Heck, even include a minifigure version of the Supply Llama because they do have that as an actual skin. Yes, I understand they had a set amount of budget for the entire theme and literally all of the minifigure budget went into the battle bus, but I even would have gone with less figures in the battle bus. Like, I would have gone with 6 figures in the battle bus and having each of the other sets have at least 1. I just feel like that would have been a lot more balanced that way. But I truly can't complain about the sheer value of the battle bus. I think it is genuinely one of the most strange outliers in a LEGO theme in general, just to have something like that with so many minifigures, and clearly it was just the minifigures developed for this theme all put into the one set. But as it is, it's a really solid first start. I wish there were more minifigure focused sets, and having only 4 sets is, I think, a bit of a missed opportunity. I feel like they could really be supported with way more, but it's a great start. I'm sure these sets are going to sell incredibly well, and hopefully that's a good sign to LEGO that we want more stuff like this, and maybe we could do some more minifigures as well. Imagine a CMF series based on LEGO Fortnite. That's all for this review, but I hope you enjoyed. Thanks to LEGO for sending me these sets early to review, and definitely stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye for now.